In the fundamentals module, we built the whole page before going and making it responsive, but because this is a more creative build and everything here is unique and might need a little bit of interactions and we might reuse things down the line, I'd rather make sure that each section is responsive before I go down and continue to the next section. So in this video, I want to make sure that what we've built so far in the hero is responsive. Now in my design, I do have the desktop and I do have a mobile version. I don't have the tablet and the mobile landscape. So we're just going to wing it, but we basically need to, we can basically see what happens, right? The grid changes a little bit as these lines move from the right column down here into the bottom. And yeah, and the shoe needs to be on top of the text. So let's go here and let's start by moving into the second breakpoint, the tablet, and see what we've got right now. So there's two things here that immediately don't look very good. Number one, the shoe is, I guess, too big, and I want to make it a little bit smaller. And the other thing is that we've got this Lodi of the circles here, which is, I guess, a little bit too small and too aligned to the top, where it should be bigger in here in the center, because now it needs to feel a little bit of a higher div. We can perhaps also reduce the padding that we've got here and maybe the font size a little bit as well. So let's get started. The first thing we want to tackle is let's go ahead and find the shoe that we've got here. Now, right now, the size here is, I guess, the whole, right? It's filling up the whole section, which is 100% viewport height. Let's see what would happen if I set this to be something like maybe 70%. Yeah, so now you can see it's not trying to fill everything, so it's going to be a little bit smaller. And let's preview this. Now, I think this looks much better. And if I go ahead and actually reduce the padding that we've got here, the global padding, then it would be fantastic. So let's see where the padding is. So the padding is on the hero content, right? And it is the global padding. Now, one thing that we can do, because we've created a variant here for the padding, then one thing that we can do is create variable modes for it. So let's go ahead and create new variable mods, and we'll set this to be automatically applied. And this basically means that I can set, for this specific variable, I can set different sizes for different breakpoints. So right now, the first one is automatically applied to the desktop, I guess. So now let's do one that is being applied to tablet. And let's call this tablet padding and create it. And change this from 90 pixels. Let's try to change it to 60 pixels. And let's see what happens. So let's go back here. And you can see that now the padding that we've got here on the hero is 60. And when we're on desktop, it's back to 90. So that's going to cascade throughout the times that we've used the variable, because this is a global padding for the whole website. And so variable mods, super, super helpful. Okay, so the shoe looking good, the padding looking good. Perhaps we can make the text a little bit smaller, but maybe not. So let's tackle the Loti here in the background. So let's see where the Loti is. The Loti is inside of the hero background, and it's somewhere, maybe here? No. Let's see, maybe it's this one. There we go. So here is the Loti. So the Loti here, it's a little bit, we've made it a little bit bigger, 120%, but we do need it to be way bigger. So let's close this. Let's set this to be 150%, make it even bigger. Actually, maybe 200%. Yeah, 200%. Remove the top minus margin. So it's right here. And actually, we can remove this as well. No, we actually want to pull this in so that it's quite centered like this. And let's preview this. Okay, fantastic. So we've made the Loti bigger. We've also centered it. So that looks good. Now we can make a decision whether we want to move this right column that we've got here down below on this breakpoint, or we're going to do this on mobile. I guess let's do this on mobile. Let's decide that for now. The only thing that I don't like is that because we've changed the padding here, then the button is no longer aligned to this grid line that we've got here. So let's go ahead and find the grid that we've got here. And then let's open up the grid settings. Remember, that was 90 pixel, and now we basically need to change this to 60 pixels. That's right. Now it's going to align here because the padding decreased a little bit. So now we also decreased the size of this last column, and that looks great. Let's move between desktop, looking good and aligned, moving to tablet, good and aligned. So the last thing that we can decide is whether we want to make this H1 text smaller. And no, let's keep it this way for now. Okay, next we want to move into the mobile landscape. Now, in the mobile landscape, we've got another challenge. While in Webflow, it actually looks not very bad, but if we go ahead and publish this and test it out to see how it really looks when the screen is horizontal and not vertical as it looks here. And let's do this by opening up the website, and then let's hit Command right click inspect in Chrome, and that's going to open up the inspect. Now from here, I can click this preview in mobile, and I'll be able to see how this actually looks like on mobile. And I can go ahead and rotate this. Now I can see that it actually looks not ideal at all. So this is the problem with previewing this viewport in Webflow. It looks okay, but this is what we're really going to get. So we've got a few problems. Obviously, the text is very small, but also we've tried to cram all of the hero section to 100% of the viewport height in desktop and in tablet. So it's basically squeezing the whole grid section here and the shoe and everything just to try to fit it into this very horizontal perspective. So it doesn't look good. So we're going to have to get rid of the, we're going to have to get rid of the 100% viewport height that we've got here. So let's see where this is set. It's set on hero content. You can see it here, 100% viewport height. And let's just change this to auto for 1 second. Now it's basically taking up as much space as it needs, but there's something weird here. I think I have a problem because the background should also change to this size because it is absolute. Aha, I found the problem. It's absolute to the body, and this one as well is absolute relative to the body because we have forgotten to take the hero section and make it relative. Okay, fantastic. So now the hero background is absolute relative to the hero section, and you can see that as I've changed the size of hero content from 100% to auto, everything is changing to fit the hero side. So this is okay, but let's actually make it, let's give it some fixed size, like maybe 700 pixels, just so that we can have some space at the top. We definitely need to make this text size a little bit smaller. So let's go ahead and select this H1. Going to change that to maybe even 60 here. All right, 60, maybe let's do 90%. Okay, this looks better. We'll preview this in a second. Maybe this button needs to be a little bit smaller as well. Let's change this to 19 and make the button a little bit smaller. Okay, and the shoe is, well, I actually have no idea how this is going to look like. So how about we go ahead and just publish this so that we can see what this actually looks like. Okay, so what I can see is that 700 pixels of height that I've set here just like randomly because I had no idea how this is going to look like is a bit too much. And I think if I can, maybe if we'll set this up to something like 500, let's see how that would look like. So let me republish again, and then I'm going to go here and reload. Okay, so this is now starting to look a little bit better. You can see the text above the hero. The shoe is quite in an okay size. I think maybe we'll have to revisit this after we have a little bit because we're going to have the nav bar here at the top. So maybe I'm actually going to increase this just a tiny bit, maybe to like 570. And then it's going to be a little bit cropped, the text hinting that you should scroll, and we'll have a little bit more space at the top for the nav bar. And we'll review this in the end. But overall, I think this is looking better. And we can go ahead and fix the grid because obviously here, yeah, I think this is good. You start seeing this, the shoe, we can maybe make the shoe a little bit smaller so it doesn't hide behind the text. So I'll do that by going into the shoe and change it. Right now it's 70%. Let's change it to maybe 60%. Yeah, I think that would be okay. And I want to fix the grid. So here in mobile, we can see that after this bright green, we actually don't have another column. So we basically need to remove this. Now, there are two ways I can go about changing the grid structure. The first one is I can actually go to the grid and change the number of columns. So I can just remove this column, but I fear it's going to mess up with the rest of everything that we have. And I think it's just going to be much more simpler if I can take this column that we have here and make it span 2 rows. And then we get the exact same structure, only this actually takes 2 rows and pushes this to the next row. And what we also want to do is make sure that we hide all of the different elements that we have here, because all of this divs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s that we have here are not going to be visible. It's only going to be this lines thing that we have here. So first of all, before I make the change, let me go and hide all of this. And for that, I think it's going to be a good idea to create a utility class of mobile hide, meaning a class that I can apply to anything, and it's just going to hide it when we're getting to the mobile breakpoint. So to do that, I'm just going to create an empty div so that I can, instead of reapplying something as a combo class, so create a new div, doesn't matter where because it's just temporary, create a new class that I'm going to call hide mobile. And all of this class, or all of what this class does is it sets display to none. Okay, so this is great. Now I've got this class and I can actually go ahead and reapply it to, let's reapply it to the last, to this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5 last things, the divs that we've got here. So let's start with the last one. Let's do hide mobile. Let's take this one. Let's add hide mobile. This one, hide mobile. This one, hide mobile. This one, hide mobile. Fantastic. Now let's go ahead and select this bright gradient that we've got here, make it span 2 columns, so it takes up the whole thing. And this one below, let's make it span all of them. Okay, I've got it almost done. I think we've got the grid ready, but now this whole lines image that we have here is basically trying to fill the whole thing and becomes too big. So we've got this Hero BG lines here, and it is set up to take up the whole width, 100% of the width, which is good, but we also want to make sure that it fits 100% of the height. Okay, now I can see a problem. If this was a normal image, note this image that we have here is an SVG. So for some reason, when we have an SVG here, it can't squish it, which is actually what we want. I don't know if you can see the lines here. They're very small. They're not being squished, squeezed all the way from left to right. For some reason, SVGs don't get squished if they are an image, but actually if this was a background image, it would actually work. So I think what we're going to do, let me go back to desktop for a second and change how we have built this. Instead of Hero BG line, let me actually delete this and select the cell itself, which I think it's this one. Let's actually reapply this as a combo class with a background image. So let's call this Hero BG lines background. I'm going to call this. Let's try to reapply it this way. So let's go into the backgrounds and now select these hero lines that we've got here. Okay, so far looks the same. I guess we want to set the width to 100% and also the height to 100%. Fantastic. Now let's see what would happen on tablet. Nope, on tablet it's not being squeezed. Okay, it actually is. Now that I've set it to custom, height 100%. Okay, so this looks okay. And then mobile. Okay, exactly. Now it's doing what we want this to do, which is filling up the whole div and squeezing so it fills it. So this looks good. Okay, so we figured out the grid. You can see that something here goes outside. For some reason, this whole grid is getting outside of the canvas, which is bad. It's most likely going to create a horizontal scroll for us. And I think that the problem is that maybe this Lottie file, this Lottie file is now too big. Let's scale this down to maybe 150 and bring this down here. Okay. Okay. I think we are about right. Okay. Perhaps we can also go ahead and change or create another breakpoint to reduce the global padding even a little bit more, right? So let's open this up. Let's create another mode, which we are going to call automatically apply on mobile landscape. Let's call this mobile landscape. Create it and change the padding to maybe something like 50 here. Let's see how that's going to look like. Okay, let's see if this has been applied to 50. Yeah, potentially we can even change this to 40. Maybe it's too big even. Okay, that's all right. Let's go ahead and publish this, preview this on Chrome, and then decide if we're moving forward. Okay, so for now, I feel good about this mobile landscape. We'll have the navigation bar coming later, and then we'll see how this looks. But I feel okay with this and ready to move into the last breakpoint, which is just mobile. Now here on mobile, we're back to horizontal screen. So I feel pretty good about going back with content to 100% viewport height. And of course, I feel like we need to make this a little bit smaller, maybe 50, maybe even 45. Whoop, note that I am accidentally applying a new class here. So let me undo that. Yeah, just make sure that when I'm making changes to the actual H1 tag, 45. And actually, we should reapply the text stagger letters, which we forgot that we removed. This grid is now too big here, and I think maybe it's because of the shoe or the Lottie. So let's scale down the Lottie to maybe 100% here, and also the, let's see, the shoe. Let's make the shoe smaller, maybe 40. So I don't see anything that should be extending the grid beyond the canvas, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's just a bug in Webflow because our grid has so many columns and it's just trying to push it. Let's publish this and see if we actually have a problem of horizontal scroll. So let me publish this and reload here. Now we can see that the grid is actually showing up fine and there is no horizontal scroll when I'm trying to. So I think we're good. So let me change, just make sure that this looks good here actually in the publish side. I can see that I can make the shoe a bit bigger. I definitely need to make the Lottie here bigger and centered here, and also reduce the last row that we have to align with the here. Actually, you know what? Maybe we make it a little bigger. Yeah. Okay. So you can see that actually we have here the last row is actually not so small as we have it here. It's actually way bigger. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to implement that. So on the last row that we have here, previously we forced it to 60%, and maybe now we can just set it to 1 FR so that it's equal. The top ones are actually 3 FRs. So let's set this to 3 FRs, and then they're all equal now. So that's going to be good. Let's set the Lottie to bigger, something like 150 or maybe 200, maybe 180, something like this, and pull it up just a little bit. Not sure how this would look. We'll see in a second. I'll also just make sure that hero background doesn't have overflow. Let's set overflow to hidden so it won't spill anyway, and just make sure that there's no spilling there. And the shoe, maybe we can make the shoe a tiny bit bigger. So let's make the shoe 40%. Now let's publish this and see how this actually looks. Okay, so we are getting close. We're getting close. I think we actually need this to be now the last row to be double than these two. So if this is 3 FR, I've made this also 3 FR. This should actually be 6 FR, and then it's going to make this bigger. And let's try to center the Lottie, and I think we'll be good to go. So let's edit the grid again. Let's make sure that the last row is now 6 FR. So it's equal to the two top columns combined together. And then actually, maybe I don't need to make the Lottie bigger because now the top columns are smaller. Let's see how this looks and see if we need to adjust again. Reload. Okay, we do need to center the Lottie, and also I'll try to push down the shoe a little bit just because we are going to have the navigation there at the top. So Lottie, let's select the Lottie and push it to the left, right? Or actually remove the negative margins that we have created. So this should be fine. And let's go ahead and have the spline and try to give the spline a little bit margin from the top, 50 pixels. Okay, I feel like this is going to be the last try. Okay, perfect. I am happy with this view right now. Of course, we'll review everything after the whole website is done, but now I feel like the mobile view is pretty good and close to the design that we have here. So we're good to move to the next video.